official language of the United States, require government-issued ID to vote, reintroduce civics classes to elementary and secondary schools, restore to active duty all military officers purged by Obama. Just let me do two more. Restore physical standards in the military, and 10, restructure military spending. You say, well, what can I do about that? My friends, it's what we can do about that collectively. It's not putting up with the Paul Ryans. It's not putting up with the Republican lies. It's certainly not limiting ourselves to the electoral process.
Well, look at the Freedom Caucus, Michael. We're almost out of time, but the Freedom Caucus, what did they do? Raul Labrador, God bless him, but Raul Labrador is basically for this immigration reform madness. I mean, this guy is not going to be leading the revolution for conservatives. So I think you're right.
They set up co-opted front groups to take the steam out of the Tea Party and all the people who did want to take the country back. They set up, look, money is behind all of these front groups.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust to protect my wealth. Call 800-BUY-COIN. It is. The hour's almost up. I don't know how, whatever. It's almost over. We got to do two more, but it's easy. What the heck's going on? I don't know. But we've got a lot to do. Let's go to Jack on WMAL. Jack, fire away. Make it quick. Please, what's on your mind, Jack?
I went to Hopkins bookstore yesterday in the evening to buy the book. I did not see it on display anywhere in the store, so when I finally asked for help, they took me where it was, kind of hidden in nonfiction political. I asked the woman, I said, why wasn't it on display? She said, well, we only had 2 copies. Yeah. I said, well,
I'm surprised that it was even carried in a university bookstore, and that it wasn't buried under feminine hygiene somewhere in the front of the store.
So the woman told me, she said, would you like more copies? I said, yeah, I'd like 2 more copies at least, because I like to give them as gifts. So she said, I'll take your order.
Well, look, I don't want to talk about the book all day, but let me tell you something. The book is going to shake up the American political landscape, especially around Thanksgiving. And that's one of the benefits of it being November already. And the book is still rising on the list. It's just coming out this last week. If we put Government Zero on a coffee table, you wait until the sparks fly around dinner time when your friends come over and your relatives who are like, oh, what's that, right?
Well, I'm going to give it to my sister, who is a PhD in social work, and we don't even discuss politics anymore. So,
no, you're lucky you even talk to her at all, because usually, I'll tell you the truth, I found this in my own family. They're usually so closed-minded, you can't even have a discussion with them. Forget about it. A discussion, they won't even talk about it, the issues. Their minds are made up. They know everything. You know, we're going to play a tape in the next hour. I don't know the organization. They went around with a microphone in L.A., and they asked people if they'd like to see Sharia law, which is what Hillary Clinton would like in America. And they asked young women in their 20s who look like they're college educated. Well, they must be. Would you like to see Sharia law? And you see the girls, almost to the woman, say to the guy, oh, yes, Hillary's cool. I'd like Sharia law. They don't even know what it means. All they know is that they've been brainwashed to be nice to minorities. You understand what I'm saying, where this is coming from?
Well, they have no view of history. They don't know what happened in Lebanon. They don't know what's going on currently. So
stay on the line, my friend. You're a very educated man. And I'm going to send you another copy of Government Zero to give out to a local liberal in your Lake community.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected thought, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Blue Monday, how are you, Blue Monday? Got to work like a slave on me. Here come Tuesday, oh, Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. No, it's Monday. It must be the Savage Nation. All right. Here's a little story that should make all of you multiculti people quite happy. A group of middle-aged whites in the U.S. is dying at a startling rate. So you got what you wanted. A large segment of white middle-aged Americans has suffered a startling rise in its death rate, reversing decades of progress. The mortality rate for white men, everyone cheer now, and white women between the ages of 45 and 54 with less than a college education increased by 0.5% per year between 1999 and 2013. Let's hear it for the multiculturalists who've targeted the white people. They say most likely because of problems with legal and illegal drugs, alcohol, and suicide, according to a study released in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Now, before 1999, death rates for that group were dropping at an average of 2% a year. So why is it suddenly rising? Well, they say drugs, alcohol, and suicide are clearly the proximate cause, said Angus Deaton, the 2015 Nobel laureate in economics who co-authored the paper with his wife. 500,000 people are dead who should not be dead, he added, about 40 times the Ebola stats. You're getting up there with HIV/AIDS. It's an interesting statistic. So why is it that middle-aged, lower, lesser-educated whites are committing suicide with drugs, alcohol, and straight-out killing themselves? You would think with the nanny state it would go down, the death rate. But no, it's gone up. As a matter of fact, rates for U.S. blacks and Hispanics have been declining, meaning death rates, for decades. Interesting. Well, uneducated whites seem to be targeted for, well, something that's not good. Isn't that interesting? Well, we can't go into that. We're not intelligent enough to discuss this amongst ourselves. We need NPR to analyze it for us with some Vivaldi music in the background to show you how smart they are. Meanwhile, the United Nations is planning a court for climate justice, while the Antarctic is gaining ice. And meanwhile, the top French meteorologist who questioned global warming has been fired. Sieg Heil, my friends. Schnorr, WABC, what's your topic? Welcome to the show. Why are you calling? What's on your mind? Go ahead. What's on your mind? Fire away.
Hi. I come from, a small community in Brooklyn, and, I've been listening to you for like 10 years and more. And, I've been listening to you, and you were talking about how the Germans and mainly the Europeans, they've been flooded with, migrants and everything. My theory, meaning it's only a theory, could be that, because of what the Germans did to the Jewish people, in the 1930s and 40s, that this can be maybe a result, meaning what comes around goes around.
Okay, so let's take your logic. You're saying they're being punished for what they did to the Jews. I'm not going to get excited because it's idiotic on the face of it. So why were the Jews punished in the death camps? Did they do something to deserve being gassed to death?
No, absolutely not.
Well, wait a minute. Hold it. You just said that they were being punished for something that they collectively did, even though most of them weren't alive during World War II. So by the same token of illogic that you're using, shouldn't you apply it to the Jewish people who were mercilessly slaughtered and say they did something and that was the reason it happened? I mean, isn't that what you're arguing? That there's a cause and effect?
No, but again, you're right in that aspect, but I'm saying I agree with you by the fact that, it shouldn't be happening, and I agree that the Germans should be holding on, to their culture. It's a very important aspect of a nation.
It was, it's like the most advanced culture in Europe, and it still is. And they're throwing it down the toilet because they have a fascist running their country who is stepping on their people. And by the way, even liberal Germans don't want the Muslims flooding into their country. They're coming in at the rate of 10,000 a day, like army ants invading their nation. And she's inviting them in. Now, how can a country sustain that?
Agreed, 100%. In fact, I believe that in the end, they will be the ones to cut her throat. Just saying,
we're not calling for cutting anyone's throat. What they need to do is throw the monster out of office as fast as possible. Thank you for the call, but your logic is flawed. You see, what goes around comes around. I mean, you start saying that, so a school bus goes off a cliff with children on it. What, they did something to deserve that? I don't buy that. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. Meanwhile, in Germany, the Nazi parties are rising because of her. The neo-Nazis are rising, which is the nightmare scenario. By the way, this is exactly what happened under Hitler, how Hitler came to power, rather. A weak government, and there was a reaction to the weak government, and now we're seeing a reaction to the crazy weak government. Neo-Nazis terrorize asylum seekers with firebombs and chilling attack in German town. Now, why are the mobs of neo-Nazis going on an orgy of violence in Germany against asylum seekers? Well, for one, they're Nazis. but two, it's because their government is attacking their own nation. It's reminiscent of the dark days of the early days of the Third Reich. And the fact of the matter is, it's Angela Merkel's open door policy to invaders that is causing this reaction amongst the neo-Nazis. They want their country. They do not want their country taken away from them. Am I justifying what they're doing? Absolutely not. I'm opposed to violence, but to me, invading your own nation is a form of violence. Merkel is committing violence upon her borders, language, and culture in the same manner that Obama, the sneak thief, is causing violence on America's national identity. Make no mistake about it. They had pretty pictures of him over the weekend giving out Halloween candy. And then the fool went on a TV show Friday night in a costume and made a mockery of the presidency. He is committing a violence against our national identity. How is it that a 0.001% of the world can do this to Western nations, including America? The people don't want it. Even liberals don't want the invasion, by the way, in this country. You ask them, they don't want the invasion. So what can I say to you? Well, I can say it pretty clearly in Government Zero. And that is that it's time to close the borders. Zero immigration is a chapter that has real meaning. Zero means zero. No immigration until we absorb those that are here and kick out those that don't belong here. And by the way, because of the great man Putin, 800,000 refugees have returned to Syria because he's obliterating the Islamic State. That's right. Your lying president, your lying backstabbing president did nothing for a year with the world's most powerful military. And now because of Putin's muscular attacks upon these vermin, these throwbacks, these Islamo-fascists, 800,000 refugees are returning to Syria because Putin is obliterating the Islamic State. Putin ought to be given a Nobel Peace Prize for what he is doing to restore sanity in the Middle East. And Obama should be given the anti-Nobel Prize for the devastation of his Arab Spring, which is the opposite of a spring. It is the Arab hell that he has created, not Arab Spring. Hear, hear. I hear the cheers coming from the audience. So all I have is a small radio show, The Savage Nation, heard on about 250 stations. Millions of listeners, it's true. And I write books that are bestsellers, it's true. But apparently the evil people who run the country do not hear the show and do not read my books. The evil people who are supported by the billionaire class who want cheaper labor answer only to the billionaire class that wants cheaper labor. It's that simple. End of story. They bought and sold our politicians, and it's time to take the nation back. That opens up one line at 855-400. I don't know the number. I almost gave an old number out. Here it is, 855-400-7282. So you know it's hard for me to remember numbers? Who remembers it's 855-400-7282? How can I remember that my number is 855-400-SAVAGE? How can I remember that my website is michaelsavage.com? How can I remember the title of my book is Government Zero, No Borders, No Language, No Culture? Well, I just did. Now let's take some calls. What's this now? Calls, European, blah, blah, blah. Okay, WABC, Ed, fire away. Your opinion counts. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Dr. Savage. I believe that the Nazis so damaged the European psyche in Europe in the 40s that they've gone 180 degrees from being aggressive to absolutely lying down to the Muslims.
All right, so how do you explain America? We defeated the Nazis. Why are we lying down to the invasion from the South? Why are we lying down to Obama, that criminal? Why are we laying down to the criminals in the White House?
Oh, political correctness.
What does that mean, political correctness? We're afraid of him? What is he going to do to us? Put us in a concentration camp?
His complexion is his protection.
I'll tell you what it is. It's brainwashing. The youth of America has been brainwashed. Most middle-aged white people are dumb as doorposts. They are also brainwashed by the government media complex. They have no idea what's happening to their own country, nor do they care. Did you see what went on over the Halloween weekend? Are you telling me those people running around the streets, they look like people who are going to defend their nation?
Absolutely not. They could never.
They look like fools. They look like grown-up idiots running around in costumes. That's not a nation that's going to survive. That's a nation that's dead already. It's the walking dead. Don't get me started. It's not 1 foot in the grave. It's 2 feet in the grave. And they glorify it. They glorify the graveyard. Take a look at what Harvey Weinstein produces. Take a look at what Katzenberg, Matzenberg, and Ratzenberg produce. You're telling me now it's a dead culture? You're telling me this is a society that can survive with psychotics running